Hello, I'm Stacey Souter, sitting in for Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. School boundary battles are heating up in Montgomery County, and the clock is ticking towards their 2027 implementation. And while boundary battles are going up, MCPS enrollment is steadily going down. Could this be the opening to property tax relief? Also, does the county council have selective hearing loss? Many measures are passing despite loud and clear protests from our residents. And the privately owned Bretton Woods Recreation Center in Germantown is potentially up for sale. What fate should befall those 285 acres of prime land along the Potomac River? Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We are joined by the current chairman of the Republican Party in Montgomery County, Reardon, Sullivan, and Cary Lamari, a local Democrat activist and former candidate for the Montgomery County Council. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. The school boundary battles are heating up in Montgomery County. Parents are fearful over the instability it will bring into their children's lives. Originally cast as a cure for overcrowding, we're now seeing a precipitous decline in student enrollment. Earlier projections predicted over 171,000 students by 2025. Current enrollment, 156,541 students and falling. By 2031, enrollment is expected to drop by another 6,000 students. Cary, to begin with, these boundary map changes seem to prioritize diversity metrics over continuity and stability, which has many parents up in arms. In your view, should boundaries be based primarily on objective data like capacity, geography, and performance, or on more social objectives such as balancing demographics and income? And given their track record, will MCPS even truly care about the parents' concerns?
Well, it's rather confusing. I mean, to be honest with you, I agree with you that it should be based on data. But unfortunately, how do you justify that data? I mean, they're looking at a potential 6,000 students, diminishing or going down in the next by 2031. They're looking at a total of 9,000 student, under enrollment, before this is all completed. I don't know. And then they've got to justify a $2.75 billion, capital improvements program. Data,
Are you concerned at all about the transparency issues? Because my understanding is that for some people that have been participating in these boundary studies, along with the school board, they have been forced to sign do not disclose DNDs. And so, I'm not sure that the parents are being fully informed. It doesn't appear that way.
We see that in politics from the president all the way down. The bottom line is today, the public is not encouraged to participate. They don't want the public participation. They want to they want to rule our government with impunity. They want to be able to, arbitrarily make these decisions and the public be damned. We're not allowing the public to offer constructive criticism or participation.
Sully, the paradox is that while the county's fighting over the boundaries, the number of students is actually shrinking, as we've said. So given that half of Montgomery County's $6 billion budget goes to MCPS, could a smaller student body actually translate into real savings for taxpayers, or should money be shifted to other things such as economic development? Regardless, again, can we expect transparency over this fiscal shift?
There's not going to be any reduction in our taxes or in our budget. In fact, it's going to be even more. It's going to go up. I mean, according to Superintendent Taylor, we've got a $5 billion need in infrastructure. He's gone up from $1.8 billion in the former CIP to this one, $2.7 billion. Our population enrollment is going down, and then you got to take into account the Kirwan Commission report and the expenses that they want to promote there. No, our school budget's going to go up, and our taxes unfortunately are going to go up also. In my opinion.
Let me put this over to Sully. Sully, I want to get your opinion on all of this.
Well, I think that the shifting of school boundaries is really inevitable. I mean, we know that there's always going to be expanding development, population shift, and as we know, our planners are not always, 100% accurate. School buildings are really a fixed resource, and shifting the boundaries to accommodate the shifting population and shifting density makes sense. But to me, shifting boundaries to accommodate diversity does not. If you have a school which is only 80% utilized next to another school that is 120% utilized, let's move the boundaries to make it so that it's more that the buildings, the assets are more equally utilized. I was disappointed by Superintendent Taylor's video talking about the boundary study where he listed diversity as the first objective. I think that that's wrong because he doesn't understand that parents actually made their largest investment and bought houses in specific neighborhoods so that their kids could go to specific schools. And I believe that kids should be able to go to school in their own neighborhoods. On that boundary study, we know it's not finalized yet, but remind people that MCPS paid Flow Analytics, I think it was $1.3 million. And part of that output was 3 maps, one of which bused kids a quarter of the way across the county. I don't think that any parent really wants that. Also, MCPS needs to be honest with the number of students. By all metrics, as you had mentioned, the student enrollment has actually gone down in Montgomery County. What that equates to is less money from the state. And as we know, under Superintendent McKnight, the student enrollment was actually artificially inflated, to try to get money from the county. I really believe that MCPS's first goal should be to educate our children in skills that will serve them and the community. And to that end, MCPS is really failing. They're gaslighting not only the residents here in the county, but with the media, they're comparing Montgomery County success only to Maryland. That's really a red herring because our students need to compete on the global stage and at least the stage nationwide. We used to have schools in the top 100 nationwide. We don't anymore. Our recent MCAP scores put our students in the mid 50% range. U.S. News and World Reports basically has pointed out we have schools in the county, like I think it's Watkins Mill, which is graduating students that are only 15% proficient in math. I think that's unacceptable. And I also offer that the solution is not just money.
I think more parents need to get involved and get out here and attend the meetings and see what's happening. When we come back from this short break, is the Montgomery County Council tone deaf to loud and vocal critics over quality of life issues in favor of narrow political agendas? And Bretton Woods is a privately owned recreational facility on 285 acres in Germantown that's owned by the International Monetary Fund. Our Treasury Secretary wants it sold. Welcome back. Against very vocal criticism from thousands of local residents, our county has approved the permanent closure of 2 lanes of traffic on Little Falls Parkway in Bethesda for recreational use, even though the Capitol Crescent Trail runs parallel to it. It's imposed other road diets, creating underutilized bike and bus lanes. Most recently, it passed a zoning amendment allowing duplexes, triplexes, townhouses, and small apartment buildings along specific corridors. In spite of serious community opposition, the county passed all of these measures. Cary, in your opinion, has one-party control created a tone-deaf council, and is Montgomery County being well served by this behavior?
Like I said earlier, it's arrogance, it's impunity. They're just they're doing what they want to do, and the public be damned. I mean, they get their land use authority through the Regional District Act. The first paragraph in the Regional District Act is to protect their job is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Are they doing that? I mean, we have land use policies, like the Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance, numerous environmental policies. They're ignoring that. They're moving forward with their multiplex high density plans, regardless of what the public says. We said earlier that they're not including the public in the discussion. Obviously, they're not. With respect to Little Falls Parkway, that started with a car accident, and the public said, "Hey, let us, we have a safety concern. Let us, participate." They wanted to they suggested putting a bridge over top of the Capitol Crescent Trail and the Little Forest Parkway. Well, the county government couldn't hear that, and it became a contest between Andrew Fearson and Mark Elrich. Mark agreed that there could be traffic congestion. Why? Because of the increased density in Bethesda and Westbard's upgrade from a local shopping area to a shopping destination. So Little Farm Parkway is becoming a very utilized piece, roadway. So what does the county do? The Park and Planning Commission says we're going to shut down 2 lanes.
So, Cary,
So
let
a
me ask you a
problem.
question. Do you think that this is going to hurt Andrew Friedson in his race for county executive?
Absolutely. I was talking to a little bird yesterday in Friendship Heights, and what they told me is the public is extremely upset with Andrew Friedson. They feel that he's not representing District 1 and that he's representing special interests and to the detriment of his own constituency. So yeah, it's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, no, I read that there was a petition with 5,600 signatures on it against the closure of the Little Falls Parkway. And if he loses by 5,600 votes, he'll know why, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Sully, you led a successful ballot initiative last year to limit the county executive to 2 terms. You think that the council members might have heard that as a cry for accountability and transparency, but it seems like business as usual. So, Sully, besides a shakeup on the council, does the county suffer under the current leadership at the Parks and Planning Commission, who seem to endorse a lot of these progressive, ill-conceived changes?
I would actually agree with Cary that the local government, park and planning, and the county council, they are proceeding full steam ahead and not really taking into concern the issues that the residents have. And on Little Falls Parkway, I really believe that, if I remember correctly, the change to Little Falls Parkway was a reaction to a biker on a recumbent bike back in like 2016. He was struck by a car while crossing Little Falls Parkway at the intersection with the Capitol Crescent Trail. And the Capitol Crescent Trail, to me, is actually a wonderful amenity that we have here in Montgomery County. And I think we should do what we can to protect that. But I do believe that the current plan to close 2 lanes of Little Falls Parkway is an overreach, and that the National Capital Park and Planning, the County Council, they are not listening to the constituents and are actually making life more difficult for the people that need to drive in that area. And I also don't believe that all the possible win-win solutions that were originally proposed were really given proper consideration, whether it be a tunnel under Little Falls Parkway. And I understand the numbers I looked at for that put that about $4 million, a bridge over Little Falls Parkway. And I agree with Cary that they didn't want to hear that. But there was a really simple solution to reroute the Capitol Crescent Trail. I think it was about 280 feet north, so that it would cross at the light at Arlington Road. And that would, the current solution that they're proposing really just slows traffic, but doesn't feed into to their Vision Zero idea of having 0 deaths. You're still crossing Capitol Crescent Trail, still crossing Little Falls Parkway at a non-regulated intersection. The cars may be going slower, but still there's no traffic light, no nothing. So I believe the idea to reroute the Capitol Crescent Trail was held by Evan Glass because he and a few of his constituents didn't want to make a few more turns while riding their bikes on the Capitol Crescent Trail. Again,
I ride that trail, and I know exactly what you're talking about there. And I will tell you that if they were to do that, the shoulder on the other side of the road is quite wide, and it would accommodate bikers and walkers. I know this very well. It's also, there's an incline on either side of where you hit the Capitol Trail. So motorists may or may not be paying close enough attention to what's happening. They're kind of going up a little hill there. So it can be a dangerous spot, but also it's incumbent upon the people that are bike riding to stop and slow down. You cannot just dash across Little Falls Parkway. So there's a lot that does play into this, but the most important thing, though, is that it seems to me they didn't care. They literally did not care what the residents nearby wanted, and also the fact that Little Falls Parkway is a way to get from downtown Bethesda over to Massachusetts Avenue, which during rush hour traffic gets backed up. So it seems very, very short-sighted to me.
well, I would offer that what they need to do is they actually stop that construction immediately. If you look in the contract for the construction, there's, and Cary's familiar with these, that you can terminate for convenience. I think that they need to terminate that construction for convenience and really possibly put that on the ballot in 2026, letting the people who we elect down that area, that if you continue to make our lives difficult, we will vote you out of office. It is just
Exactly.
not
If I could
acceptable.
add one thing.
Last word, Cary, go ahead.
Yeah, you know what drives me crazy is, from my little birds that I've spoken to, I've learned that the residents of the community have even offered to help fund or to fundraise to
Mhm.
pay for that bridge if money is the problem. So, where do you find a group of, they're not NIMBYs. They're saying, if you can't afford it, we'll help fund it. This is the best way to handle it. Just listen to us and let's talk about it.
That's interesting. I didn't know that they were willing to pony up the money.
Yeah, well, plenty of part of it anyway. They wanted to work to help fundraise. So anyway, it's just horrible.
Bretton Woods is a private club in Germantown with over $13 million in assets. Owned by the International Monetary Fund, it sits on over 285 acres of prime land along the Potomac River. It features a large clubhouse, an 18-hole golf course, plus swimming and tennis facilities. The United States is the largest investor in the IMF, and the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, believes the IMF needs to get back to its core mission of providing liquidity and backstops to struggling nations. He wants this kind of expensive dalliance to stop and for the property to be sold. Community concern is already brewing. Sully, should Montgomery County even be a contender for this property? Turning Bretton Woods into a public park or sports complex might sound appealing, but would that simply shift a private luxury into a taxpayer-funded one? And what kind of return, financially or socially, should county residents realistically expect or even demand if public money becomes a part of the equation?
Well, first, that property is on an amazing location right on the Potomac River. I think it's a great place. But the Bretton Woods, I believe, is currently zoned recreational. So any major change would require a rezoning, which in Montgomery County we know can be a challenge. If the IMF does sell the site, I would personally like to see it become something that will generate income for the county. A few blue sky ideas. If we're sold to another private golf purveyor, that might be more difficult because, as we know, construction in Montgomery County can be a challenge, and Poolesville Golf Course is right up the road. The idea of having a data center there was interesting because it's near water, but we know that there's not really enough power on the grid for a data center. So, but that's a whole other conversation. But the great thing is that area is right across the river from the Virginia data center headquarters, make a perfect mirror site. Frederick is actually running fiber underneath the Potomac River for data centers in their area. But I think where it might come into play is a river crossing. As we know, White's Ferry has been shuttered for about 5 years now. And could this area be used as a crossing over to Virginia and make everybody's lives in Potomac a little bit simpler? It's the whole concept would be just a matter of negotiation.
I really like that idea. Cary, this is federally linked land sitting in a county that claims it's desperate for affordable housing, but let's be practical. The site isn't close to amenities or public transportation. It's surrounded by rural roads and multi-million-dollar homes. So does it really make sense to convert this land into affordable housing, or would that be another example of well-intentioned policy colliding with local reality, perhaps making it one more example of tone-deaf policymaking?
That's insanity. I mean, the location for it doesn't account. I mean, you got North Potomac, you've got Seneca. We're talking about $1 million plus homes in that area. It's in West Gaither, Germantown. It is not in the ag reserve. So that means that the creative zoning could easily be addressed in that area. But my concern, this is probably one of the most pristine properties we have in the county. It's absolutely amazing if you go and look at it. I'm not in supportive of of using it for any commercial purposes like a data center. Although I do believe you're correct, we desperately need a data center in the county, but I think that should be on the 29 corridor heading into Silver Spring, and that's my opinion, if that's even a possibility. But as far as this property goes, yeah, it could probably accommodate a couple of thousand residential units. I don't think they will be affordable, but in my opinion, you're never going to God will never create another piece of property like he did on this one. And I think that it would be a sin environmentally as well as aesthetically to do something criminal like create housing on this property. My
Carrie,
opinion.
as I start marching towards my retirement years, I'd like to see it turn into a Del Webb.
What they could do though is they could put a hotel there if they wanted to. They've got to get White's Ferry back up and running. I mean, there's a lot of potential, a lot of things that could be done, but the county's not willing to spend the money necessary to create the transportation infrastructure for there. And you know, there's counties certainly. We only have, what is it, 9 golf courses in Montgomery County anymore. It'd be a shame to lose this one. But you know
I
what?
couldn't agree with you more. All right.
Scott Bessent, we're talking that Trump could actually create another golf.
Exactly. All right. Thank you. Stay tuned for parting shots. So just before our parting shots, I want to ask our guest today what their predictions are for the New Jersey and Virginia gubernatorial races. Cary, I'm going to toss it to you first.
I have no idea. I really don't, and I don't really care. I'm more interested in the state of Maryland, but I'll let Sully respond.
So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think that those are both, as people call those, bellwether states, bellwether elections. I'm glad to see that Winsome Sears is picking up ground, that the RNC is actually putting some muscle behind her campaign. I think that's great. Whether she's going to be able to overcome the Spanberger lead, don't know. But I think it's tragic that Spanberger has elected to not disavow the comments made by the Attorney General candidate. That alone should disqualify him. And if she won't disavow or condemn his comments, I think that says a world about her. Regarding the New Jersey race, I'm really hoping that the Republicans can pull it out. I know that there's people out there door knocking and working hard to really change the trajectory of what's going on in New Jersey. I think it's about time. I think that he will bring a little common sense to New Jersey, the same way that I think both Cary and I would probably agree we need some common sense and a dialogue here in Montgomery County. Let's start with our adjoining jurisdictions, and let's bring it home to Montgomery County.
I agree with you. So now we're at the parting shots, and Cary, I'm going to toss it to you first.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the University Boulevard corridor plan. The fact of the matter is, this multiplex housing is not going to create affordable housing. It's going to create, at best, it's going to create housing that'll accommodate, people that'll earn $150,000 to $200,000 a year. If it does that, I don't believe it does. All one has to do is look across the river over to Arlington, take a look at how, their missing middle has, changed. It's not compatible. It's not compatible at all. It doesn't create affordable housing. In fact, what it does is it creates impacts to the neighborhoods, parking, environment, etc.
Going to be interesting to follow. Sully,
I'm just
parting shots.
I guess I continue to be disappointed by what our local government is doing, whether it be not listening to the residents on things like Little Falls Parkway, and at the same time enacting laws that really don't make it easier for businesses to come here. We know that we've been redlined by the real estate industry, but they impose things like BEPS, the Building Energy Performance Standards, that are going to get rid of gas heat by the year 2035. I think that we really need new leaders who are sensitive to the needs of the people in this community, and that they stop chasing a draconian and somewhat utopian society that they're never going to achieve. And as they run that in that direction to the far left, people who can are leaving the county, and that's reducing our tax base, and also it's a brain drain too.
Thank you so much. And thank you, audience, for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 This Week, I'm Stacey Souter, sitting in for Casey Aiken.